The quiet power of old money. This term defines a hidden class of families holding massive fortunes that have quietly survived across centuries. These are not self-made entrepreneurs who had to hustle or build their wealth from the ground up. They simply inherited supreme financial control the exact moment they were born. American dynasties like the Rockefellers, the Vanderbilts, and the Astors stand as the ultimate symbols of this untouchable elite. True generational wealth operates in absolute silence. You will almost never catch these elite bloodlines aggressively flexing their net worth to the public. Rather than buying flashy items, they quietly secure assets that are guaranteed to stand the test of time. They pour their fortunes into prime real estate, priceless fine art, exclusive private education, and deeply rooted legacy businesses. For them, ultimate power isn't calculated by how much cash they throw away, but by the massive assets they manage to protect. Their core obsession is always identical: to aggressively multiply their empire and hand over a far greater fortune to their future heirs. Now enter the flashy and loud world of new money. New money defines a completely different breed of individuals who actually forge their empires within a single lifetime, entirely independent of any family inheritance. Every single dollar they possess was actively constructed through their own sheer willpower. They literally built their massive fortunes from absolute zero. Modern tech titans like Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates perfectly represent this explosive financial rise. This category also includes megastar entertainers, elite athletes, and fearless entrepreneurs who transformed a single raw vision into a staggering reality. Because of this rapid ascent, this newly acquired wealth is almost always much louder and far more visible to the public eye. The sprawling estates, million-dollar supercars, and custom private jets are almost always proudly showcased for the world to see. But this extreme level of showing off isn't necessarily driven by pure arrogance or ego. More often than not, it is simply the overwhelming psychological reaction of tasting absolute financial freedom for the very first time. In fact, nearly 70% of today's elite billionaires actually built their own fortunes, proving that this explosive new class has silently taken over the global hierarchy of wealth. The unstoppable rise of the tech elite. This highly exclusive faction of modern wealth has aggressively dominated the global financial landscape over the past 30 years. They are the brilliant visionaries, master coders, and relentless engineers who completely rewired the fundamental mechanics of human society. What truly separates this group is the terrifying velocity at which their net worth exploded. A rapid acceleration completely unknown to any era before them. Mega corporations like Google, Meta, and Amazon have single-handedly engineered some of the most colossal financial empires in the history of mankind. They achieved this staggering dominance at a terrifying speed that completely eclipses the legendary oil barons and railroad tycoons of the past. Curiously, these digital titans often project a remarkably modest lifestyle, wandering around in basic clothing and driving standard vehicles, all while silently controlling the infrastructure of our modern world. Now, we must examine the physical titans, the real estate elite. Accumulating power through physical land remains one of the most ancient, proven, and unbreakable methods of building immense capital. This distinct class forged their wealth by aggressively acquiring, transforming, and trading vast expanses of prime property. But the one psychological trait that truly separates these property barons from every other billionaire out there is their lethal, calculated patience. Their strategic vision operates strictly in terms of decades, completely ignoring short-term yearly trends. They deeply comprehend the ultimate reality that physical land remains one of the absolute rarest assets on Earth that can never be artificially printed or duplicated. Many of these titans began their journey by quietly acquiring just one modest piece of real estate, leveraging its cash flow to systematically capture their next target. As the years pass, this calculated cycle of reinvestment aggressively compounds into an unstoppable mountain of generational wealth. It is no secret that property ownership forever reigns as a supreme wealth generator, standing firmly alongside international banking and elite corporate services as the ultimate foundation of the global ultra-rich. The hyper-visible world of the celebrity elite. This distinct faction of high net worth individuals, comprising actors, musicians, and top-tier entertainers, holds a type of power that is deeply fused with global fame. Unlike traditional businesses, their massive capital floods in through sudden, explosive bursts, rather than through slow, methodical accumulation over decades. A single chart-topping album, a record-breaking box office hit, or one viral cultural phenomenon can effortlessly generate tens of millions of dollars almost overnight. Yet the brutal psychological line that separates the truly untouchable celebrity moguls from those who face total financial ruin is entirely determined by their very next move. The sharpest minds in the game, such as Rihanna and Jay-Z, weaponize their massive global fame as a supreme launchpad to construct independent business empires. In a stunning financial shift, Rihanna's Fenty Beauty empire rapidly grew to be worth vastly more than her entire historic music catalog combined. For this elite class of creators, raw fame is never the final destination. It is merely the ultimate starting capital to buy their way into major industries. Now look at the high-stakes arena of the athlete elite. These hyper-disciplined competitors extract their fortunes through a strategic combination of massive sports contracts, global brand endorsements, and savvy corporate investments. Yet the one defining element that makes this specific type of wealth completely unique from all others is its extreme ticking clock urgency. A professional athlete's career comes with a brutal expiration date, allowing them only a brief, unforgiving window of physical dominance to extract their absolute maximum financial value. This terrifying biological countdown forces elite competitors to approach capital accumulation with a ruthless, highly strategic mindset that ordinary people simply cannot comprehend. Basketball titan LeBron James stands as the ultimate blueprint of a competitor who decoded this hidden financial matrix long before anyone else. Years before ever stepping off the court, he aggressively orchestrated a massive corporate portfolio, spanning global media, franchise investments, and his powerhouse Spring Hill company, which ultimately generated a colossal fortune that absolutely dwarfed his legendary sports contracts. The competitors who secure permanent financial freedom are those who view their physical contracts as mere starting capital, while quietly constructing massive corporate empires on the side. Now we enter the highly calculated realm of the investor elite. This supreme class forged their monumental fortunes not by manufacturing any physical goods or services, but by aggressively weaponizing their own capital within the brutal arena of global markets. Corporate shares, government bonds, secretive hedge funds, and exclusive private equity are the precise instruments they use to extract absolute financial control. The legendary Warren Buffett remains the ultimate mastermind of this strategy, a man who never designed a single consumer product, yet amassed historic wealth purely by isolating dominant corporations and stubbornly refusing to sell them for generations. The most terrifying aspect of this financial strategy is how completely undetectable it remains during its initial phases. These market masters operate in total stealth for years, allowing their hidden assets to aggressively multiply in the shadows, until one random morning, the sheer scale of their accumulated fortune becomes an undeniable global force. This brings us to the volatile, uncharted territory of the crypto elite. Decentralized digital assets essentially engineered a bizarre, unprecedented breed of multimillionaires in the blink of an eye. These are the ultimate risk takers who captured foundational digital tokens for mere pennies, holding their ground through brutal market crashes until their tiny initial stakes mutated into staggering astronomical empires. A massive portion of these digital billionaires are incredibly young individuals who possessed absolutely zero traditional financial education. They simply identified an underground technological shift and embraced a terrifying level of risk that the rest of society completely rejected. The defining characteristic that separates this decentralized wealth from everything else is the violent speed at which it materialized and the sheer chaos of its instability. Massive empires that traditionally required lifetimes of property and stock investments were suddenly forged in mere months, and in many tragic cases, vaporized just as instantly. The complex reality of the modern inheritor. This specific class of heirs operates under a completely different psychological framework compared to traditional legacy dynasties. These individuals were never raised inside the protective walls of a historic generational empire. Instead, they were suddenly handed a massive financial windfall from an older relative, a single monumental transfer of capital that violently altered their entire destiny. A rare few managed to multiply this sudden fortune, adopting the ruthless financial discipline of the ancient elite bloodlines. But many recklessly drained their accounts, completely paralyzed by the overwhelming psychological burden of sudden, unearned riches. In fact, financial data proves that an alarming majority of those handed unexpected fortunes will completely bankrupt themselves in an incredibly short amount of time. It becomes painfully obvious that preserving capital is a masterfully developed skill, one that is almost never inherited alongside the actual bank accounts. The hidden phenomenon of stealth wealth. This remarkably invisible class of millionaires is perhaps the most mind-bending anomaly in the entire financial ecosystem. These are completely ordinary individuals blending into the background, dedicated teachers, under-the-radar mechanics, everyday technicians quietly doing their work, and local accountants. They spent entire decades secretly redirecting their income into the markets, ultimately constructing massive hidden fortunes right under the noses of everyone who thought they knew them. They navigate the world in basic commuter vehicles, reside in completely average neighborhoods, and obsess over saving pennies. Yet their hidden portfolios reveal a shocking financial reality. Extensive psychological studies on self-made millionaires uncovered that the most dominant group belongs to a quiet category known as the relentless accumulator. These individuals never experienced a sudden financial windfall, but instead weaponized the power of systematic daily investments, relentlessly compounding their cash for decades on end. They remain the most perfectly camouflaged elite in modern society, and astonishingly, the raw financial data proves they are hiding absolutely everywhere.